Weird is you hear it and you're like, I don't know what the hell I just listened to. This is bizarre.
Yo.
It's your boy Uche. I got my boy
Deezy.
We are the ill-advised wise guys.
Check out the full podcast, link below.
Is being an original artist overrated? Someone who makes different type of music, trying to be anti-culture, is that something that's overrated? I came across a YouTube short, and one of the shorts that popped up was Danny Brown. Don't know who Danny Brown is. He's from Detroit. He's a gentleman who's been very underground for, I would say, the vast majority of his career. The early 2010s, he actually made the XXL Freshman cover with Future, Macklemore, Iggy Azalea, French Montana, to name a few.
How? The only thing you gotta know, my dick stuck to ground when I'm sitting on the floor.
But the point is, you guys may not know this, but he was supposed to sign with 50 Cent and G-Unit Records back in 2010. During those negotiations, 50 Cent was trying to get him to understand that, like, yo, bro, we here to make music and sell records.
I remember 50 Cent told me that, hanging with 50 Cent. He was like, man, because he was always talking about, like, man, you got to make a hit song, you know, this and that and that and this. And I was like, man, I just want to be, like, artistic and, like push boundaries and, like, be progressive and, like, make experimental type music, like, that I never heard before and shit like that. Like, he's like, if you want to make music that ain't going to make no money, then you might as well just make that shit for yourself and listen to that shit in your basement, because that's where you're going to be at. It's the music business, man.
And Danny Brown said, yo, that was the first time he had to really decide as an artist where he wants to go. As a, you know, does he want to take that more traditional route and make music that people already rock with? Or does he want to just keep being different and not necessarily hit the mainstream and ever get that credit? I set the stage with that because if you're an artist who makes different type of music and it's not of the culture, if you will, the mainstream culture, does that mean you're never going to pop? You know, do you bank on yourself and say, maybe people are going to come around to me? Maybe they do. Maybe it's 10 years, 20 years later. Maybe it's too late. Maybe you never get that shine. Is it overrated to be different?
My short answer is different is great. You know, there's something that stuck with me that Detroit YB said on the last episode.
Shout out to Detroit YB.
Detroit YB. He was talking some talk. And one of the things is, I think a lot of artists come into the game without a goal. They're just like, I want to make good music. I want people to like my music. I want to make money off music. What is your strategy for getting there? In my opinion, if you're an artist that is quote unquote different and making music that is not like the music that you're hearing on the radio, you better have a goal in mind. You better have a path that you are hoping to follow, and you're going to stick with that path to get to success. At the end of the day, guess what? Eminem was different, right? Eminem, personally, the first song I heard by Eminem was My Name Is. And in that song, Eminem was talking some weird stuff. He was talking about stapling people and...
Bobby 35. I smacked him in his face with an eraser, chased him with a stapler, and told him to change the grade on the paper.
His mom was locked up in the basement. And that was weird. But Eminem has always had a plan. He always said, yo, I'm going to use Dr. Dre, you know, as somebody to help with my beats. I'm just going to be unapologetically myself. I'm going to be violent. I'm going to say weird stuff that I'm going to force you to like. But guess what? Out of all the stuff I said about Eminem, one thing remained constant. He's always been a great rapper. Point blank, period. So you can be as weird as you want, and you can sell us whatever you want to sell us. But it always comes back to the main thing. Are you a good rapper? Are you a good singer? And so that, to me, is why I say it's not overrated. It's just you got to have a strategy.
That's interesting. I mean, you're right. I mean, but see, that's on the business side of things, right? You this is beyond just the art. Well, I mean, that's the other part of the conversation. Because, like, for me, obviously, we talked about Danny Brown. Danny Brown just dropped a joint project with JPEGMAFIA called Scaring the Hoes. And to me, I feel like, wow, both of those guys they've created a fan base, a real movement for themselves all of these years, but it's been very underground, which you would consider underground. Now, with that being said, they took an untraditional route, if you ask me. Somebody like, let's say, Kanye, right? Kanye, early on, we talking about All Falls Down, Jesus Walks, College Dropout. I believe Kanye came into the game making music that was relatively traditional. Like people understood what they were listening to. Now they may not have liked it. There were people who early on didn't like Kanye's music. But I'm saying like
Absolutely.
it wasn't like he was making anything unorthodox out the gate. It was not until he got to 808s and Heartbreaks, Yeezus. At that point, people had already known who he was. Then he started experimenting and breaking out and doing other things. So what I'm trying to say is, I think it's actually to an artist's benefit to come into the game making music that people kind of understand already, and then branch out if they're trying to be successful. If one of their goals is to make music that sells, it might behoove them to make music that people already rock with or something similar before they start experimenting. Because you might lose people. I know it's uncomfortable.
It's not uncomfortable.
For a lot of
get where
people.
you're coming from.
It's uncomfortable.
I hate to get nitpick here, but technically everybody's different. I mean, even though you're a drill rapper, right? You can be a drill rapper, but like your voice is different.
Bro, everybody's different.
Right? Being different is a high risk, high reward type of thing. You know, like at the end of the day, you might not get anybody listening to what you're trying to do if you're being completely different and too left field. But
that's a good way to put it.
If you can get somebody to listen to your stuff, you have a really good chance of developing a cult fan base, or you have a good chance of moving hip hop forward. Because guess what? If hip hop remained the same from the 70s, we would be listening to songs like Rapper's Delight today.
First, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie, say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie. Let's
every single time there was an artist that was willing to be different that pushed hip hop forward. It's so funny because we look at it and say some of the styles of today is normalized, but when it first came out, we were like, what the hell are we listening to? Like Jay-Z created Reasonable Doubt. At that time, it was like people weren't making mafioso hip hop songs. It was different. DMX? What? A dude barking on a song? It was different, but we normalized it. With that being said, I do think there is value monetarily being different, because you could be that one person that they point to that says you introduced a new style into the game. That gets you a lot of money.
You said something interesting where you said high risk, high reward. I think that is the appropriate way to label being different before people really get a chance to know who you are. And by the way, all them people you named, most of them, I want to clarify. When I say different, I'm not talking about the way they rapped. I'm not talking about their demeanor on the song.
Saying, okay, so
we're talking musically.
You're saying
different.
You're saying weird. There's different, and then there's weird.
No, here's why I say that.
Okay.
I have no problem with people having their own swagger, their own style of rapping. Like I like the fact that a Playboy Carti toys with his voice. I like that because it's creative, it's experimental,
it's weird.
It forces people to be uncomfortable.
It's weird.
The weird is a different way I want to spin this. I'm just talking about it's different, and it forces people to examine whether this is something they like or not.
Okay.
That's what I like. You saying it's weird?
I'm gonna go weird.
But there's people who might not think it's weird.
I'm gonna
That's
go
why,
weird.
But hold on, there's people who might not think it's weird. That's why I'm like,
Let's be real. Danny Brown is a weird artist. He's weird.
So is Childish Gambino.
Childish Gambino, yeah.
But what does that mean?
Yeah, it
at the end
means
of the
something
day?
because weird means.
Kendrick is weird.
No, I wouldn't say Kendrick is weird.
I said he is weird.
He's a weird person, or he makes weird music. I don't think he
there
makes weird music.
There are tons of examples of elements within his, whether it's the voices he uses, whether it's his
he
intros.
uses weird effects. Okay, Danny Brown is a weird artist. He doesn't do anything conventionally. Right.
See, that's the word.
Okay.
I like that word. Unconventional versus conventional.
No, I like weird because weird is
that's calling people names.
Yes, but weird is you put it as a negative. I'm not saying weird's negative. Weird is you hear it and you're like, I don't know what the hell I just listened to. This is bizarre, but it's good in my opinion. Just as somebody from because art is weird, but like I look at artists like Pink Panthers. It's weird.
Yeah, with the new song.
It's weird music. That's weird to me. There's still like a weird element to it, when you talk about the tempo, the effects, and the sounds that you hear, another person that's weird to me is Doja Cat. Doja Cat does a lot of weird music. I think she does some conventional.
Doja Cat's just a weird person.
She does, and then she's weird, right?
She's a weird person.
But guess what? Doja Cat's selling, bruh.
Yeah,
better than a lot of artists out there.
Yeah, and so she's a good example, right? I think Doja Cat's the actual opposite of what I'm talking about. Doja Cat is a weird person. The music she makes, at least the one that's actually getting mainstream success, is not weird. Okay. It fits right within the music that people are familiar with.
You know that song?
Talking about the first song. Get into it, yeah.
That's a weird song, bro.
Weird is okay. And a lot of people we rock with.
And good is bad.
Bad meaning good, good meaning bad. Speaking of Lupe's weird.
Lupe's very weird. The Cool was weird, but I like it.
You see what I'm saying? Yo, but here's the thing.
It was weird, but it was cool, dog.
Bro, Lupe musically, I'm not talking about him. He was weird. A lot of the way he was rapping was weird. Musically, it was not weird. Meaning the beats he was using, it was within pocket of what people can digest already.
Pockets, but
that's what I mean by somebody who does it in a digestible way. Whereas I think a lot of times when these artists like a JPEGMAFIA, Danny Brown, they're throwing people off musically
because they're not doing anything conventional.
There's nothing they're doing conventional.
I agree with that.
A lot of people will not catch on.
That's a good point.
And that's why the Lupes, even the Wale's, to be example. I think Wale's weird.
Okay, now you just
what? Is he weird?
No, he's not weird.
You just been throwing these words
he's
around.
Not weird.
Okay,
he's not
what
weird.
Is
he's not weird. He's something else, but he's not weird.
There's this misconception with I think how people evaluate being weird. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think most times it actually doesn't.
I just think what happens is we don't give them credit after they blow up because we just assume when they were weird is now normal to us. So it's like they were never weird. No, they were weird. It just got normalized.
But let's be clear. There are majority of artists who make it are not quote unquote weird. Majority of artists who actually are successful, meaning commercially successful, monetarily successful, overground, not underground successful, are people who are not quote unquote weird. It's people who go right within the mold of what's already normal. It's a fact. You disagree with that?
It might be a fact, but
man, listen, you're weird.
Damn right.
Listen to the full episode, link below.